Hi everyone. Rumors of my death are greatly exaggerated. Sorry, I've been away for 5 to 6 months. It seems like a lifetime. I know, I'm sorry, but I'm back. But we've been shooting a lot and it's just been busy. You know, we had a very cold start to the season, as you all remember. Oh, I remember that. Anyways, April was just a disaster. But anyways, my first ride of the year was not on the street. It was on the track. And that's where I like to start every year because I teach racing, as most of you know, and I've decided to go back to the track myself. So it's interesting, teaching versus racing. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about the differences and how racing does improve the breed and make you a better rider, and so is taking a course. The biggest issue for anyone with racing, even some of the schools, is the cost. Money, of course. It's always about the cost. Cost in time, cost in the bike, cost in transport, and cost in time. It's time off. It's a big one. You need the time off to go racing, yet you need the money from work to go racing, especially your first season, because not everybody's going to line up and hand you big pockets of cash. Teaching's a whole other ballgame, though. I teach at several schools. I teach at Race, the first one, at Shannonville, where you bring your own bike. And I also teach at Racer 5, where they provide the bikes and everything. And those are the first 2 schools of the season. And I like it, and my students are eager. It was very cold at the beginning of the year. You know, a +4 day turns into a +16 day, and then all the racing is fun. Just driving, learning the track, that's the big thing, getting it down in your mind and seeing what it's like. It's also interesting when you see racers, students, see a track for the first time, because there's no reference points anymore. There's no cities whipping by, there's no cars, there's no friends you're pulling ahead of. It's just you and the track. And that can be sometimes very intimidating for a lot of people. I hear this all the time. Oh, I don't want to take my bike to the track, Jeff. I'm going to crash. Well, it's not called crashing school. It's, it's riding school. It's racing school. You're not expected to go flat out right away. You have to take baby steps. And that's the best way. And the first thing I notice is, if I can get my students into this, is to get their vision opened up, to have them have that from blinders to that aha moment, and then they see everything and they start to put it together. Draw the track. I always do that as homework. I always tell my students to, when they go home, draw the track. Let me see what you know about the track. And they come back and it shows me a lot about what they're seeing and what they're not seeing. But vision is the key, especially when you're learning. It's to open up your eyes. But once you've taken the race school, it leads you to the world of racing. And that's a whole new ballgame, where you've come from a course with other people at that pond and then to move to another one. It's a big jump. I've got my own eyes open this year when I returned. Just to get the eye back, as I call it, you have to really work at remembering what was fast and what's slow, and you tend to push yourself quite a bit. I see so many young riders start out in racing, and it just hits them like a ton of bricks of how much difference there is in track time between a racing school, any advanced driving days, track days even, to an actual race day. There is the cost, of course, that we mentioned earlier, and then there's a lot of sitting around waiting. You do your practice sessions in the morning. You might get 1 or 2 or 3 sessions in. You break for lunch, 1 more session after lunch, and your race might not happen till 4 or 5 p.m. that day. So you're sitting around wondering about the changes that you've made, or should I risk making another change? And, it can be like drinking from the fire hose quite a bit. But what I do notice is when you're sitting around a lot, there's one thing missing that's different from the school. The classroom's now empty. There's no teacher anymore that you can go to. You're alone with your thoughts. And that can be hard because you might get a lot of misinformation from other people. They have good intentions. Let's say they give you tips, and then they have to go off and do their own thing. But you're missing that one thing that you had in the class, which was like a coach. And you'd be surprised that the top writers out there all have coaches. Even Rossi has a coach. Lorenzo has a coach. They all have writing coaches. Now at this level, they're not going to tell them, hey, you should be writing like this. No. What they're doing is sort of an outside view. Rossi's got data acquisition, they've all got data acquisition, and they come back in and they confer with the technicians. But what the coach is adding is a third element of an outside view. Yes, that bike is showing you there's a bump, and yes, the rider's dealing with a bump, but what the coach can see from the outset, that you were a foot off line. So a coach is a huge benefit. And they're in all sports, gymnastics, bowling, there's probably a fishing coach out there. I'm sure there is. Golf, there's tons of careers in golfing coaches. But we don't see them as much because they're behind the scenes, because it's all about the rider out there. But the one thing you should be focused on as a rider, and the top riders are as well, is the one thing that doesn't lie, and that's lap times. If your lap times are coming down, then you're doing it right. Fucking battery. So if you're not happy with your lap times, something's wrong with your riding. If the lap times are not improving or being consistent, then your riding is a little all over the place. And also, if you're not happy with the setup of your bike, your lap times will show. But don't go around beating yourself up with settings, constantly trying to change things and manipulate. There's a myriad of things you can do to the bike. Rather, just set a base and then just go around and go around and go around until the lap times become consistent, or they start to go down, and they should go down. Now, they won't go down at 10 seconds at a time at all. They're going to go down 1/10 to 1/2 a second at a time each session. And usually during the race, you do improve as well. So watch for that. Just make sure every time you go out, there's a little bit of improvement in the times. And that comes from knowledge of the track. Get that track down. Because the main thing about the track is the track stays consistent. It's always the same for everybody. Maybe at the beginning of the year, there's a new bump, but everybody's got to ride that bump. So it's consistent. You're the change. You have the changing to do. You'll be offset, wiggling too much, holding the bars too tight. So the main thing is just get the track consistent. That's the big point. A lot of my students in class afterwards come over and say that they really had that moment, they felt that aha moment where they really woke up from the difference between street and track driving. Track really allows you to explore things that you didn't have before.
It is awesome. He taught us exactly what we needed to learn this weekend, and I couldn't ask for a better instructor. No doubt in my mind, we had the best instructor here by far.
He knew exactly what was going on before I did, which was great because he could correct things constantly throughout the day. It was long 3 days, but Jeff was there every moment, and I got so much out of this weekend, probably years worth of riding in one weekend.
So if you're thinking about racing, definitely look into a riding school, racing school, any of those. Track days are great. You get a lot of tips from maybe your friends, but come out to a real environment where you can learn body control, bike control. And I guarantee you, it is addictive, 100%. Just be prepared for the shock. Not only of the cost, but of that budget for that nice winter vacation that we all love to take in the middle of January is going to be gone, because it's going to be race parts. I need that shock. I need those tires. I don't need the beach. Thanks again for watching, guys. It's a great pleasure just giving you guys tips and helping you out. And if you have any questions, comments, please put it in below. We've got footage from the next video coming up, where I'm going to do a few more ride reviews finally. The big one being the wing. That's taking the longest to film, as you can understand. With racing and all, taking over. Budget. No more trips south. Oh, we'll see. Talk to you soon. Thanks again for watching. This has been Ride This.